Hey guys, welcome back to a new episode of Interviewing with. This is Ashley with Are You Sure You Want to Do That? And today we're with our home DM, Gilanor. Thanks for being a part of this today.
You're welcome. Happy to be here.
Happy to have you here. So the first thing I want to talk to you about is I know we're going to be starting up a stream soon, obviously.
Right.
Can you tell our viewers a little bit about what they're going to expect and what campaign we're running?
Well, we're going to be running Icewind Dale as soon as it comes out. It's not going to be the week of. It's probably going to be the 2 weeks after to give me plenty of time to make sure that I'm prepped. But I'm expecting a lot of isolation horror and a lot of distrusting of each other and distrusting of NPCs and distrusting of the situations and
Ooh.
uh, a lot of con saves for the cold.
I'm very excited. I am already got my character up and running, and I'm ready to play her.
I'm super excited to see what they do with the weather mechanics. I know that's going to be a huge thing for Icewind Dale since it's so cold and so isolated. I want to see how they expect you as adventurers to survive in this sort of harsh environment and what you guys are going to have to do to survive.
Challenge accepted, DM.
I'm a huge fan of isolation horror. I love it. I mean, not it, The Thing. Uh, it's a good movie too. It's a bit isolation horror, I guess. As a kid that can't go to your parents and tell them what's going on, you feel isolated and alone. And you don't know who to trust because it can take on many faces. So I mean, it's kind of like it's a little isolation horror, I guess. But yeah, I'm kind of into that. I love Curse of Strahd
Hmm.
because I love the horror aspect of it, and I love the sort of serious tone, and I like this one so far from what I've seen. I hope that it does a good job.
Me too. Um, Now you're a pay-to-play professional DM. How did that get started?
Well, I wasn't always a pay to play DM. I've been professionally DMing for about 5 years or so now. Um, it really started off because of my girlfriend. Uh, she paid for me to essentially get started. I'm essentially fully disabled. Um, I had an accident, and since then I've been just about unable to keep a normal job. She, out of her pocket, paid for me to be able to start doing D&D professionally online.
Mm.
Got me all set up and everything. Before that, I've DM'd for about 16 years. 16 years now total. Um, I did local events at like card shops, and then I did local events on like Comic Cons and stuff. But
Cool.
besides that, I didn't really do anything professionally until she started getting me set up. Because she believed that I could do it after she played in a couple games with me. She said that she thought that I had what it took. She helped
Oh,
me get started. And she's been supporting me since. So she's great. And she's a great artist. Most of the stuff that I've done from my homebrew games, like I have a game called Land of Dreams. It's written by me, made by me, done by me, but she does every single one of the maps. And eventually I hope she'll do the character art too. Uh, but yeah, she's our little home artist here for our actual live stream. So all the
yeah.
characters that are going to be in Icewind Dale are going to have their art done by her. So
She is also who did my background, which I love so very much. Um,
right,
Check her out, guys. She really is truly an amazing artist. We love her. Um,
absolutely.
Gail, how did you get started in D&D?
Well, the first game that I ever played was ran by one of my best friends from school. He started up a D&D game, which at the time we didn't really play D&D. It was more like, uh, I don't really know how to explain it. We didn't really have the rules that D&D had. We loosely used the rules. It was mostly just a lot of in-character RP and talking and stuff, but we used D&D as sort of like the quote unquote rule book. but the home DM I had, we essentially started a game, ran it for about 8 years. It was my longest lasting game, I think, ever. Uh, yeah, that's my first character was Arduin Blackmore, and he was a paladin of the god of light, and then eventually he became evil to
Oh,
become good, and then he became good again, and then he was a paladin of the Raven Queen. Because I
oh,
think we ended when fourth E came out. We were using the lore for fourth E, but we were actually using the rules for 3.5. So yeah,
okay.
I said it. Fourth edition. People don't like that edition for some reason. It was okay. It was more the fun of playing with my friends than anything. So
Isn't that what D&D is about?
absolutely, it doesn't matter what edition you're playing.
Um, what is your biggest struggle as a DM?
My biggest struggle, I think, is being too nice to people because when I first started playing as a DM, I would give my players whatever they asked for. Um, and I'd hand out magic items like candy and oh, someone died. Oh, you didn't actually die. I'm sorry. Bring
Hmm.
you back to life somehow. Um, but since then, I've gotten a little bit better about being able to say no to players, but it's still probably one of my weaker suits is that I don't like arguments and confrontation with my players. I like my players to be happy, but I think I've gotten better since I first started.
What advice do you have to give to like new DMs, aspiring DMs? Because I say this in basically all of the videos is it's intimidating to pick
Oh,
up a
it's
book and read through it, and it's a lot.
it is I gave this example before, but I tried getting into Warhammer and I opened up the book and I was like, this is absolutely nonsense to me. I don't understand any of this. And I think the best advice to give to someone who's aspiring to be a DM is to carefully read not just the Dungeon Master's Guide and not just the Monster Manual, but the player handbook. Get familiar with all the classes, all the mechanics, all of the rules. That way, you are confident in how you rule things. Now, I'm not saying you have to memorize the books, but to know where everything is in the book so you can quickly find it and access it is absolutely key. Also, don't hand out magic items like candy. That's a slippery slope. I've seen a lot of DMs who start out just sort of give magic items out to their players, and then they don't really know how to do it, right? So especially DMs that like to do their homebrew games. If you're running a module, generally that doesn't happen, right? You get the you give the stuff out when you give the stuff out. So as a new DM, I would say play an actual module, a good one, like a goodly rated module, like Curse of Strahd or uh, any of the really good modules out there. There's a lot of them. I'm blanking off the top of my head right now. But play through a module as a player, a good module with a good DM is a good way to learn. But playing through a module as a DM is also good because that kind of shows you how magic items should be handed out, when they're handed out, how they're handed out, and how often they're handed out. But a good rule of thumb is just if you're playing in a high uh, magic game, your character shouldn't have more than one uncommon magic item at that point at level 5. Uh, if you're giving out too many, it makes the encounters that come later on unbalanced. They're either kicking the thing's butts, and so you have to ramp them up, and then you have to give them more stuff because you're ramping up too much, and it becomes this spiral that comes out of control. You got to be balance is a huge, huge thing with D&D. You got to be balanced. So one of the biggest things I would say advice to a new DM is just play through a game as a PC with a good DM if you can, and you know see how they do it, run through a module as a DM yourself, see how they write them. And if you can't do either of those things, if you can't find a DM to DM for you, then just do your best, right? I mean, if you mess up, don't get discouraged. Just keep trying.
I agree with
Take
that.
advice from other DMs. Take the critiques from your PCs. If a lot of your PCs are saying you're doing something wrong, listen to them and be open to it. Don't shut them off. If one or two people are saying that you're doing something wrong, but everyone else loves it, then maybe go with the people that the majority. But
I can get
and don't
behind
be
that.
a pushover. Don't be a pushover as a DM either. Like if you're a pushover and you let your PCs run over you, that's also a problem.
As you're saying that, I'm like just checking off the list. It's like I've done
I
that,
know I
doing
know that
that.
you had a problem with giving out magic items to your players.
I still do.
It's a problem that a lot of DMs have. They think that they want their players to be happy, and they feel like in order to make them happy they got to give them something like a magic item or whatever. And that's fine.
Yeah.
You just got to remember that when you start giving out the magic items, you're going to have to start making the encounters harder, or they're just going to stomp over everything you do.
I'll talk to you later about that. Uh,
Of course.
pet peeves. What are yours at the table?
I have a few pet peeves. One of my major pet peeves are the rules lawyers, the ones that want to sit there and tell you what the rule is supposed to be.
Mm,
Those make me so mad. If I ask you what, hey, does anyone know what this is? The rule for this, because I may be playing 16 years, but I'm not a mastermind that can remember every single rule for every single condition for every single
of course.
thing. So, if somebody knows, I'll ask. But if I don't ask and I say this is the ruling, generally that's how it should be, right?
Yeah.
Even if the ruling's not right. Uh, I always think that if you're gonna argue with a DM, you need to argue with the DM when you're away from table, not at table. Because if you argue with the DM at table, it makes the DM defensive. They're gonna get snappy. I've seen it in
It,
games that I've been a PC in. DMs that have these PCs that are rules lawyers, and they just get so aggravated and irritated, and then it makes everybody irritated because the DM's mad now. But if you're gonna be a rules lawyer, at least be a respectful rules lawyer, right? Don't be a jerk. Don't be one of those guys like, well, actually, I think you'll find that on page 3, chapter 4, it says that. No, just say, excuse me, DM. I don't think that that's right. If that's how you want to rule it that way. I understand, but because if you're nice and polite, then people will be nice and polite to you. So just be respectful. And
of
then
course.
another thing that really grinds my gears is the backseat DM, the metagamer, the one that knows everything about the module because they played the module 6 times and they want to tell you how it's supposed to be run. And they're like, well, that's not the stats of that creature. Well, this creature's CR is actually this, or yada, 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 yada. That makes me so mad.
Mm,
I really hate the metagamers that are like, well, this fight's impossible because this creature's CR is a CR 12 and we're only level 4. Well, maybe I nerf the encounter. Maybe I remove some abilities that this creature has or something like that, right? I hate that. Metagaming is one of the things that makes me the maddest. Um, and then the power gamers. But not like I don't mind power gamers. Let me clarify. Power gamers that make it unfun for everyone else.
fair.
If you want to play a barbarian berserker moon druid, go right ahead. Or bear totem, I mean moon druid. Go right ahead. That's super power gamey, and you know it's going to be really hard to kill you, but it doesn't make it unfun for anyone else, right?
True.
As long as you're not affecting someone else. The kinds of people that I can't stand are the kinds of people that are like, I'm gonna go Warlock and take Eldritch Sight so I can cast Magical Darkness on top of myself and the enemies and my allies, and just shoot Eldritch Blast at like 300 yards away while no one else can make any attacks. I hate those people. It's really unfun because then you got PCs that are sitting there going, well, I guess I just swing at the darkness and pass my turn because they can't hit anything or see anything. Those kinds of power gamers are the ones that I really dislike. And I thought of something since last time we talked. Another absolutely I hate this and is a pet peeve: cheaters. I
Okay.
had one in my session today. Uh, he tried to pass off the fact that he had concentration like he was casting spells and wasn't telling me that they were concentration spells, and I was paying attention, but the one spell I thought was not concentration actually was concentration. So he had two concentration spells on at the same time and was trying to cast a third one, and it was when he cast the third one that I realized that he's casting multiple concentration spells. And I checked, and he tried to deny it. He tried arguing with me, but this isn't the first time he did it. So I was like, I feel like there's a pattern here, friend. So I really hate that. Don't be a cheater. Don't play D&D and cheat. Don't fudge your dice rolls as a PC. Fudge your dice rolls as a DM if you wanna cheat. Fudge your dice rolls as a DM. That's another bit of advice for a DM. If
It's
the
okay.
encounter's not if the encounter's not going right for you, and your big bad evil guy is getting his butt handed to him, and the ending is going to be extremely anticlimactic, give him a second phase. Give him extra health. Trigger something that you didn't plan. Add something to the encounter. Make it I'm not saying make the encounter impossible or make it extremely hard. I'm just saying shift the balance of the encounter. If your PCs are and doing the opposite direction too. If your PCs are getting nailed and you're just smoking them and there's nothing that they can do, fudge the dice, help them. It's supposed to be a fun game where there's back and forth, there's RP and combat. They're supposed to feel like they're winning and they feel like they're losing sometimes. You gotta If they're always winning, make them lose. If they're always losing, help them win. Because it's not fun when you're always losing, but it's
Yeah.
also not fun if you're always winning. uh if there's a little bit of the, oh my god, this boss just turned into the vampire we just defeated, instead of turning into smoke, turned into something else, and now
Hmm.
it's phase two of the boss fight, right?
Right.
um Fudge your rolls. I mean, I do it all the time. Sometimes it's in the favor of my PC, sometimes it's not, but I've never killed my PCs from fudging my dice. All deaths and all death PC things have to be above board. They have to be legit. You can't fudge your dice to kill a PC. That's not cool. Like,
I agree.
if you crit some dude and then uh insta kill him, don't fudge it and make it so it lives. Unless he's had a really bad day, then maybe do it. If he's like been crying all day because his girlfriend broke up with him, this is his
Hmm.
release, and then maybe fudge your dice so he lives. But but
Oh,
but like, don't fudge your dice to kill someone. Like, fudge your dice to make it more exciting and to make the encounter more exciting if you need to. But don't fudge your dice to kill someone.
but it
That's
is,
not.
but it is okay to crit your PCs with a spider, with a swarm of spiders. It's okay.
Oh, absolutely. That happened multiple times. Crit kill someone with a swarm of spiders. Nothing I can do. I didn't, or the ye old level 2 guiding bolt to the face with a crit. Yeah, that's rough.
That's definitely rough. Um, Gil, would you be up for a few games?
Absolutely.
First, I need you to make a perfect party of four. You are the DM, and you have to pick four people.
All right, so I thought about this, and I thought that I would definitely take my girlfriend as one of the party members.
Okay.
I really like the idea of Michael Jackson playing a rogue,
Okay.
Elvis Presley's the bard,
Yes. Okay.
and just some random hobo off the street to play the barbarian. But he has to be absolutely plastered.
God, that
Just
sounds
absolutely
amazing.
plastered. Because that's the best kind of barbarian.
Do we have one of
What are
those?
we doing again? What am I rolling for?
We have one of those barbarians in our group.
Yeah, Kaza's great. Kaza was the one that got crit by the swarm of spiders and then just insta killed.
Kazo will be running all of our tech on our live stream um, come September.
Yeah, he will be definitely doing that. God bless him. He is going to be doing his best.
Um, we won't make it too hard on him. We're just giving him tech. It's fine. Uh,
Yep.
Gil, can you stat your in real life self and give yourself a class?
Yeah, so I'm definitely like a barbarian zealot, paladin of vengeance. So I would say I'm probably like 10 levels paladin, 10 levels barbarian.
Okay, you're
I
multi-classing.
definitely, yeah, absolutely, yeah, multi-classing to get those nice rages when I go raging. Um, I think I would have a 20 strength. I'm pretty strong, pretty strunk, but I got like a dex at 8. I'm not very dexterous.
It's
I
okay.
trip over like everything. I got a con of probably like 14 because I get kind of sick sometimes, but I don't. But I generally get over it pretty quick, or I can at least muddle through it most of the time. My intelligence is probably like a 16 because I'm pretty smart. My wisdom's probably an 8 because I'm have no idea how to use that smartness. And my charisma is probably definitely a 20. I'm super charismatic.
Okay, we'll give it to you. Why not?
Well, how do I convince people to pay me for something that a lot of people do for free, right? Ah,
It's true. Um, are you ready for a little bit of this or that?
sure.
Wizard or sorcerer?
Sorcerer is definitely like the cool kid, and the wizard's like the geeky one. But like, I think wizard's better late game, but sorcerer's better early game. So sorcerer.
Okay. Mage hand or prestidigitation?
I think prestidigitation would be really useful in real life. I spilt something, prestidigitation. But
God, I would love that.
mage hand, I feel like would be even better. I really want to drink. Open the fridge, grab a beer, pull it to me. Uh, I don't know, man. I'm really torn between these two because they're both really good. But I think Mage Hand wins
Okay.
only because I can see it being more useful.
Bard or ranger? UA ranger.
UA Ranger. I definitely think that if we're basing it off of real life, I would rather be a UA Ranger than a Bard.
Okay. Lich or death knight?
Death Knight is cool, but Lich is definitely better.
Yeah. Combat or RP?
I love RP. But if you can do combat and put RP in it, that's even better.
Ooh, that is better. Home.
I have a small story after this I'd love to tell, but yeah.
Well, would you like to tell us real quick?
No, I'll do it at the end after this.
Okay. Homebrew or store bought?
Homebrew definitely has a lot more to choose from in terms of like what you can use. Not all of it is balanced. So I definitely prefer homebrew. There's a lot of things in homebrew that I love, but as we continue down the path of where we're going, I hope that store bought eventually catches up and they'll start producing things that will be on par with some of the homebrew stuff. Because I don't know if you've seen it, but that new book that came out on DM's Guild, Exploring Eberron, it's
Mm-mm.
made by the person that actually made Eberron,
Ooh,
and that looks really cool.
that sounds cool. Um, DM or player?
Well, I'm a forever DM, so I would prefer to be a player, but I also like being a DM because it's how I make my money. But I would prefer being a PC for sure.
Sneak attack or rage?
Sneak attack is definitely better late game. Early game rage is better, so rage.
Fighter or paladin?
Paladin.
Rope or tinderbox?
Rope. So much cool stuff you can do with rope.
Fireball or scorching ray?
I actually don't like either of those spells because they're so mundane. So because fireball is probably used more, I'm gonna go with scorching ray.
Okay. Last one.
But I would prefer lightning bolt.
Okay, we'll ace those two off and we'll give you lightning bolt.
Lightning bolt is awesome.
Last one. Dungeon or dragon?
Definitely dragon and red dragon,
Okay.
ancient red dragon.
Oh, we're going with the ancient. Oh,
The ancient red dragon, because that is obviously the coolest. They have the coolest design, in my opinion. There's no other dragon that I can think of that looks nearly as cool. The
mm,
black dragons don't look that neat to me. The blue dragons are cool looking, but they're not as cool as the red dragons. The red dragons are like your classic looking dragon.
it's kind of like smog, so yeah, yeah,
Right.
I go with
And
that.
there's one dragon in particular that I can think of that's a red ancient dragon that basically owns a whole swath of land in Faerun. It's pretty cool.
You had a story that you wanted to tell us real quick?
Yeah, so the story is basically of one of the times that we had a session where combat and RP happened at the same time. So it was in my Ghost of Saltmarsh game. Uh, there was an NPC named Hans, and basically he was kind of like the leader of the group of adventurers. They made him the de facto leader for some reason. He was just a life cleric that I had gave them to help them out if they needed healing and stuff because uh with the coronavirus and stuff we were a couple players down every now and then, so I just wanted them to have fun, so I made a life cleric to heal them.
That's fair.
um Came up with this whole backstory for him, uh which was basically he was an Azamar who had fought against Orcus in the past, and Orcus knew about him, didn't like him. We had problems with each other. And in the Ghost of Saltmarsh campaign, I homebrewed a lot of stuff. One of the biggest parts that I homebrewed was that Orcus was trying to cause problems. He was the reason behind everything in the campaign that was happening. The Sahagin causing problems was because of Orcus causing problems, and so on and so forth. So in the end of the campaign, they fought against some of these undead that worked for Orcus, and they fought against some of these demons that worked for Orcus. And Hans, at this point in time, had gotten a little cocky. So he went into this room to fight this guy who was sort of a mini boss. When he went in the room, he smited him a few times because I took a couple levels in Paladin at that point. And the guy power word killed him. And he died instantly. This was after one of the other PCs had gone in the room and died too. One of the PCs ran into the room. He got killed. Hans ran in the room to avenge him, and then got power word killed. And it was pretty good. It was like combat but RP at the same time. There were people that were upset, and they were talking about it in the combat and stuff, and it was really cool. It's really interesting.
Was it Gengai that did that?
Yeah, Gengai was the one that was Looker who died.
That's right.
But in that, he didn't really have a cool moment as Looker. He went in and sort of just died on accident, which is kind of he was going in to investigate, and then he was invisible. Something happened and he got caught, and basically died because of that. So
I remember
I
that.
gave him I gave him a cool moment by saving Hans once. But yeah, it's pretty bad. Lots of people died in that campaign.
Oh, that's funny. Um, Gil, do you have a DM saying that when you say it, us, your players, might have a little panic attack?
Yeah, I do, and it's the name of the channel that we're going to be doing here. Are you sure you want to do that? I have a couple other things. I don't really know all the ones that I do, but I've noticed that I do have a few. Um, but are you sure you want to do that? It's probably the one that I say the most. I know other people probably say it as well, so it's not just me. But I feel like I say it quite often, and when I
You
do,
do.
it normally means that something bad's going to happen if you continue doing what you're doing.
It normally means
Um,
we need to stop what we're doing and turn back around.
right? Or like it's one of those parts when you're playing the video game and the video game's like, if you continue, your save progress will not be saved. You might die, and then you won't be able to come back to this point or whatever. But yeah, I don't normally warn my PCs, but if I feel like they're doing something absolutely stupid, it might slip out.
Fair enough. Um, Before we get to our last question, guys, please feel free to check out all of our social medias. Um, Again, like Gil said, he has pay to play, and he is a amazing DM. Uh, Check out Mary. She has done so much of our artwork, and again, she's our home artist. I will put all of the links and description in in the description box, and we really appreciate the support and the love that you guys give us. Um, Gil, would you like to add anything to that?
Yeah, I mean, I hope everybody that sees this comes to the Ice One Deal thing and watches us. And I hope that I don't, embarrass myself as a DM and go crying in a corner. I'm really excited about the Ice One Deal, to be honest. I'm ready to see what it's got for us, so I can get involved and start planning things out. Because
I'm
until I
very
get the
excited.
book in my hand, I can't do any planning, and it's making me so sad because I want to start working on it now. But
I
I
know.
don't know. Like, I've been working on things to a degree, but I can't really do too much without having the actual module. So I've kind
Soon.
of been setting at a standstill,
I know. September 15th. Come on now. Um,
right?
Gil, can you give our adventures an adventuring hook? As DMs, we are always coming up with things right on the spot, and that's what I need you to do. I need you to come up with a quick adventuring hook to send our amazing adventurers on their way.
Absolutely. So as you guys are taking a long rest, you have just completed a fairly important task for the locals of this town. Uh, you retrieved a mysterious relic and brought it back. It was once stolen, long time ago. You're feeling fairly confident in yourselves, taking your long rest, sleeping, when all of a sudden there's an explosion outside.
Ooh.
The entire inn and tavern is rattling. The door slams open, and standing there is a man completely in black. As the fighting ends and the man is dead, you search his pockets and find a note that suggests that he is to assassinate one of your party members. I really would like to know what you guys would do with that.
Ooh, please in the comments below tell us what would you do if your DM gave you that hook. Again, Gil, thank you so much, and we love you for being such an amazing DM. So, from me and the rest of your party, thanks.
Well, thank you for having me, and thank you for having me on here. I hope that I will see everyone here in Icewind Dale and any one shots I decide to run and whatnot. So, yeah, thanks.
And we will see you adventures next week. Bye.
Bye.